Alright, this is how you turn a raster image over to a vector image using Inkscape for a 3D print workflow. So this is step one. So step one, find a silhouette on the internet. The silhouette should have it all connected together. In other words, for example, these birds have white lines, so that would not work, and the lines are getting too thin here. These birds, same thing. This heart is disconnected from the other shapes, so is that leaf. In this example, I'm going to use this butterfly, and the antennae are really small on it, so I'm going to repair that in the actual software. So, to get started, we're going to save this image. I'll launch Inkscape. I'm using Inkscape period 0.91 pre-release. Okay. It'll also work in the other Inkscape though. Some simple navigation. If you hit spacebar, you can move around. Okay. So I'm going to go File, Import, and on my desktop I should have that butterfly silhouette JPEG. I'll use the embed feature and hit OK. So right now this is a raster image. I need vector lines. And you can zoom in on it and see the difference. You see these lines, they're all broken up, staircased. So let's click on it and let's go to Path, Trace Bitmap. And I'm just going to use a cutoff factor of 50 or 0.45 and hit Update. I'm also going to use Remove Background. This will remove all the white out of the scene. And hit OK. And close it out. So what that did is it looked like it didn't do anything, but if you click and drag, you have now two shapes. This one is your raster, this one's your vector. And how I know the difference is if I go to View, Display Mode, Outline, you can see that this one appears in lines, this one appears with a big giant red X. I'm going to delete the one with the red X. And then I'm going to also go back to normal view. So this object is made of points, and if I do not like these right here, I can delete them. So click and drag and hit delete. If I wanted to add something like those antenna that is ready for 3D print, I can maybe use the pencil tool. I'll turn the smoothing up, and the shape I'll use ellipse. And I'll just kind of generally draw something like this. Okay, now if it looks a little wobbly in some areas, you can undo it and turn up the smoothing to the point where you are kind of tuning this based upon how much coffee you had that morning. Ah, there we go. That looks better. So that's a little thick or thin right here in this point. In order to correct that for 3D print, we can use the Edit Path tool. But you notice I don't have the ability to make it sharper or manipulate anything as far as the line is concerned here. Okay, so in order to do that, we have to go to Path, Object to Path. Now if you go back to the arrow, we now have these points. And I can kind of go like this and thicken up this area just a little bit by moving these points around. Again, for 3D print, we might not be able to have such a point as that. So it should be looking like something like this now. Incidentally, in Inkscape, I can click and drag anywhere on this spline, anywhere, and then manipulate it around. If you are having a hard time with, let's say it has a harsh edge like this, You can correct that by clicking on the node and clicking here. It'll give you a nice transition from one point to the next. If I want a duplicate copy of this shape for the other side, I simply go like this. Control D. This will make a backup copy of it. And then I flip it. And then I can move it to the other side. If I want to kind of align it together, well, I can turn on these. These are my snaps. And I can find out where the snap is, and then I can use the arrow tool to move it over. And you can get as precise or unprecise as you want there. These are a little thicker. They will probably work out for 3D print. Again, I just put them there to kind of show you some of the basics about moving shapes around and making new shapes using the pencil tool. Also, I want to touch base on the fact that these are 3 separate shapes and they all need to be the same. So if we go to View, Display Mode, and go to Outline, you'll see this right here. This and this shape need to combine together. In order to do that, I click on the first shape, hold Shift, click on the second shape, and go to Path Union. Okay, again, first shape, second shape, Path Union. So now this is a complete shape. All right, now let's go back to the View, Display Mode Normal. And how you export this as SVG is very easy. You just go Save As, and there is a Inkscape SVG, and there's an SVG. Just make sure you know, don't do this one. Always do the top one. I have students that see this compressed SVG and they accidentally click on it. Inkscape and plain. Now, my personal opinion is go plain, because plain SVG allows you to import it into a 3D application just a little bit easier. I don't want to topple over that other number though. Okay, there we go. Alright, so there's your workflow if you're using Inkscape. Please move on to the next video where I use the vector image into a 3D image.